Welcome to the International Classroom, a podcast for educators living and working internationally. Today we have a special guest joining us to share her experiences of living and working in Dubai as a non-teaching partner. Now, Dubai is known for its luxury lifestyle and booming economy, but what is it really like for those who follow as the trailing partner? We're going to explore what it's like to navigate a new culture and career path and explore the unique challenges of living and working abroad. Now, before we get into this episode, thank you for tuning in to the International Classroom podcast. If you've been enjoying the podcast and you want to stay up to date on future episodes, be sure to follow and subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. If you want to watch our episodes and learn more about living and teaching internationally, you can also find us on YouTube on our channel, Deep Teaching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and don't forget to leave a comment and let us know your thoughts on today's episode. If you do have any questions or want to share your own tips and experiences, feel free to reach out to us on the YouTube comments. Again, thanks for listening. Yeah, so as we said today, this episode is about non-teaching couples. What we found is a lot of the friends that we have, or I have as well, that are teachers, generally have partners that are teachers as well. So we wanted to do an episode that for people who were thinking about moving out internationally or even to Dubai, what it was like as a non-teaching couple. So I'm very fortunate, as the introduction said, to have my wife, Kerry Gray, alongside me today. Kerry is I'm always going to big you up when I say about interior design.
Nah. Stop. I know what you're going to say before you say it. Oh my God.
My wife is an exceptionally good interior designer. There you go. But we have been out, this is our 8th year now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what would you say, in your answer, what brought us out to Dubai originally?
We'd always discussed it, not Dubai specifically, but we'd discussed moving and living and working abroad. And I think that it was my office at the time that I was working in Birmingham that said they were opening a little micro office in the UAE, in Dubai. And I just came home one day and was talking about it. Obviously, being pregnant at the time, didn't necessarily think anything would happen. But yeah, just mentioned it. And then, next thing you know, you had an interview in Dubai. So, it was one of those really. It happened very quickly. But maybe it was something that we'd both really wanted to do. Again, not Dubai specifically, but somewhere else out of the UK. Experience that different lifestyle, different cultures. Yeah, I think that was something maybe we'd both really wanted to do.
Yeah, I remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong with this, you kind of came home and you went, of all the ideas that you have, 4 out of 5 of them never happen, never do anything. In this one time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a great time in our lives, was it? Because being honest with the viewers and the listeners, it was around February. My dad had been diagnosed with cancer about 2.5 years previously. Mm-hmm. You were heavily pregnant with Liv. We had Ava, who was, a year?
She was
about 15
old,
months?
A year old. Yeah, roughly a year.
And some people do it. Some people come out with young children. There's some people who are out here who have children out here. And there's other people that come out with sort of more developed, older, even teenage children, isn't there?
Yeah.
But we got to that point, I think, and it was such a quick turnaround.
Super quick. I mean, yeah, you said you had an interview and then, I mean, I don't know how many days later the interview was. And then you had 3 days to decide because you'd been successful. You had about 3 days to decide. So we had a very quick conversation. We'd just renovated a house. We'd bought and renovated a house. So it was very... it
didn't give us a lot.
It was do or die, basically. It was just kind of... It was like, okay, what do we do?
I remember we sat down, didn't we? We sat down with my mum and dad. Because that, for me, was the biggest one about it. And they've always just said, look, regret the things that you kind of done rather than the things you've never done. So we kind of said, right, we'll do it.
Yeah, your dad was all for it.
Yeah, he was.
Your dad was all for it.
And so we then set about it. So we had to get, as some of you listening to this might be going through or wondering, attestation. So all of our documents, certificates, we had to get sent off to be attested.
Yeah, that goes for degrees, So our degrees, our
Marriage certificate,
birth
certificates.
Yeah. So Ava at that time, because Olivia wasn't yet born, but Ava's birth certificate.
We had to get Ava a passport, didn't we?
We had to get Ava a passport, and then we got Olivia a passport.
Now, because
I think you might have already been here at that point, but I got
Olivia was born July 7th, and I flew out August 20th. And so
awful.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I really don't recommend. Please, I do not recommend that. I can't sell that point of our lives in a positive way. It was really tough.
That was
really tough.
One of the biggest challenges I think we faced was, for whatever reason, decided I would come out and set up, and then you flew over with my mum and sister.
Yeah.
And bought furniture for the girls, because even though in previous episode we talked about housing accommodation and being put into those, they don't give you cots, do they? Like the girls' bedroom.
No. The girls' bedroom was, what was it? A double bed or something like that. So you had to go out and buy cot beds and playthings and also baby mats, because obviously Olivia was tiny. Yeah.
And then in between that time of March and August, lots happened. We had to sell the house.
We had to sell the house.
To sell the cars.
Yeah, sell our 2 cars.
Unfortunately, my dad passed away then in the April time, didn't he? Mm-hmm. So, that was another hard thing to deal with, because even then we said to Mum, like, should we stay?
Yeah.
Should we turn it down? Should we stay? And I think a lot of people who are thinking about coming out, once they commit to a job, and I've heard this from some people, go, I've signed everything, I'm committed. But if something happens that you can't control in your life, generally most companies, I think they understand.
Yeah, I think they would understand, especially if there's good reason for it, for sure.
Yeah. But no, we decided on it. We sold the house in a day. Yeah. I remember that, and this is again down to you. I think it went on the market on the Friday. I remember going off to rugby on the Saturday. And we had some viewings in the morning. And that was it. I think we had 3 offers then and there. So we were lucky in that respect. And again, that was all down to you, your designs and everything we had. And yeah, we were on our way. We bunked up with my mum for 2 months, didn't we?
Yeah, lived with your mum. I continued to live with your mum while you flew out. Yeah. I stayed with my parents for a little bit before then. Yeah, flying with your mum and sister over. So October time, I think, wasn't it?
It was a bit later, yeah. So Ava was...
It was early October, I think.
Ava was like 20, 21. No, she was like 22 months old. Livy was like 3 months. I remember we got all the photos.
Yeah, she was tiny, yeah.
So that's a challenge, getting over here. And then...
We'd not tested the water either. That's another thing we should bring up.
Well, most people...
We hadn't visited Dubai prior to coming.
We hadn't. We kind of just... It was more a case of, because your office has said, and we put it there and go, we can both work.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing for a lot of people moving over. Like, teachers generally have guaranteed jobs, with months in advance. And the partner then, you have got to try and find a job if you're a non-teacher. And it isn't easy over here necessarily. But you work in quite a niche field, don't you?
Yeah.
We're saying that
it's broadened slightly more now. But yeah, before it was always food and beverage design. So like restaurants, bars, cafes, clubs, that type of thing.
But you can't, I'm going to say this, and you can't just fall into being an interior designer, can you?
No.
Some people try.
Some people do. But it's not, if you have the right skills, or the skills that you've learned all the way from uni and experience, it's hard. Yeah. And especially in interiors, I think people do think it's easy. My dad's the first to joke about it's just cushions and curtains.
As you look at this, and we are...
Yeah, just cushions and curtains. But yeah, obviously there's a lot more to it. You need to know little bits of architecture here and there as well if you're kind of going to do what I do. So yeah, it's one of those. Luckily, we both had jobs. I was very fortunate to be allowed until the January after we'd moved over. So I had all of that time from moving in October through to the beginning of January to be with the girls. In Dubai, you only get 45 days.
It's changed. The law's changed now around it, I think.
Are you sure? I don't know.
Someone can comment on this. But I think,
I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, it was when we moved over for sure, it was 45 days maternity leave, which obviously is a fraction of what you would get in the UK. And my work was very good in allowing me to not start until January in the micro office. So
there. And again, in some ways it's good because like you just had the kids. We found a nursery for Ava, didn't we? So she went off near enough straight away.
Ava went off into nursery, which was lovely.
Len Livy started in January when you went back to work. So she was 6 months old.
Mm-hmm. She was still so tiny. I mean, really, it seemed very young for her to go into nursery. But
there's nurseries here that tend from 3 months, isn't there, as well? Mm-hmm. So we were lucky to some extent with that, but those first couple of years, near enough, most of the money we earned went into their nursery fees.
Yeah.
But then
I
think that's the same wherever you are in the world and you're having to work. And we and ahhed about it and we'd stay at home but that's one of the challenges. If you stay at home, it's just you and the girls. It's not like in teaching, near enough all my friends are teachers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas I would say the benefit for having you as a non-teacher is some of the people then have met afterwards are non-teachers, which is kind of nice. And some of your friends to start with over the first couple of years were teachers, weren't they?
Yeah.
So having that out of industry component is always nice because you're not then sat around talking shop all the time.
Yeah. I bring a different component.
That's it. So when we first moved over, we got placed in Al Barsha, which is right near Mall of the Emirates. So one of the main malls here in Dubai, in an apartment. And actually that was quite a good thing to start with, wasn't it?
It was really good. Yeah, very convenient. Little supermarket underneath our building on the corner, pharmacy underneath our building, salon, hairdressing salon.
Barbers.
So like those things that you need, it's good. And then Mall of Emirates, one of the major malls, was just around the corner. We could walk.
Yeah. So you're going to hear our dog now. So one of the benefits, so we spent 4 years in Al Barsha, 2 different apartments.
Yeah.
But then in terms of where we're based now, so we decided then, didn't we, and this was 3.5 years ago. So we moved before COVID, didn't we? We decided that the girls were old enough. We wanted a garden.
Yeah.
So we moved out when I changed jobs. So kind of the area that we chose to live in was because of where we were going to go to school, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think we discussed that. So a lot of people in Dubai, they live in an area and they will do a long commute in the morning to get their kids to a certain school, potentially. However, what I quite liked and what I missed about the UK was that you would, the school that the kids would go to would just kind of be within the area that you live. That's kind of how it works. So when we had the opportunity to find houses, we looked in the Springs and this kind of area, and because it's around the corner from school, potentially then in the cooler months, of course, you could bike or scooter or, whatever it be, walk. And it's easy for you guys then. I don't mind. I've always kind of been the person who'll happily do a longer commute if you guys can then do a little bit of a shorter one. I think it makes sense.
And we're kind of fortunate with the school we're at in that the majority of kids who are there do live in the community, so the surrounding community.
Or if not this one, it's
like
just
Park,
the next one along.
In the Springs, and you'll find a lot of them within Dubai. So the Springs is made up of 15 different areas. So you've got Springs 1 through to Springs 15. Mm-hmm. You've got the meadows that surrounds it, and then further aside you've got Jumeirah Park, the lakes. So all within 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers. Would you say?
Yep.
A lot of the students are, and that's one of the things that makes it a really nice community school. Yeah. That's why we chose this area. And that was pre-COVID. Mm-hmm. And what we're finding now is everyone post-COVID wants to get out of apartments because they want garden space, they want outdoor space. And what you'll find is if you're looking at this, then rental prices
have gone crazy.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. I mean, me and Drew...
We were lucky, weren't we?
We were.
When we moved.
I think me and Drew spoke about it in the last episode, in terms of the further out you go now, obviously everything seems more affordable. A long way into the desert.
Yeah.
a long way from everything, really. And it's a long commute. I think he said his commute was like 45 minutes. Like
Whereas you have what?
a kilometre.
Yeah, like 2 to 5 minutes tops.
Yeah.
Really.
But you get the brunt of it because you've got to...
Yeah.
Like,
I have to go on some motorways and...
So 30 minutes,
But it's
isn't
fine.
it?
Yeah, I don't mind doing that. It's kind of
Yeah.
my time in the car. I don't mind.
Well, that's it. That was one of the things I used to enjoy about working in the UK, that commute back to decompress. And we were speaking about this the other day, weren't we, about like that decompression time?
Yeah.
Because one of the things that differs if you're non-teaching is the time I start and finish versus the time you start and finish. So like we're generally in school with the kids. I'm around about 7:10. And then, but unless I have meetings, I'll be home 3:45, 4 o'clock. And okay, if there's meetings, it might be 4:45.
Yeah.
Whereas...
Still completely disaligned with what so then I need to be there for 8:30. And my drive in the morning is around 30 minutes. And then I finish at 6:30. And because of the traffic at that time, it's a good 40 minutes, 45 minutes home. So yeah, for the past year and a bit that I've worked at my current place, I've only just caught the girls, haven't I, for going to bed.
Yeah.
And there are times where if I have deadlines, I don't see them at all on a night.
Yeah.
So we always say, and we've said this for a long time, that our roles are quite reversed. I'm the person who strolls in at 8 o'clock or something.
Asking
like, what's for dinner? What's for dinner? What did you cook today? So we're quite opposite in that way. And you do then see that from the kids' response to you. They come to you a little bit more than they do me.
Yeah. But I think ours is kind of a unique situation because, again, I'm trying to think, I don't know many people who are the teaching, like the male is the teacher and the females are non-teacher. More often than not, it's the female teachers and the males who work different or in their own businesses or other things like that. So
exactly.
But we don't mind. It took a while to get used to that in terms of our roles. But I think we're happy with it now. The girls go to bed a bit later. Your work is just changing, so you're going to be home a bit earlier.
Yes.
But it does, that is definitely a challenge to get your head around in terms of roles and responsibilities. And it's only within the last few years we've properly taken on some help at home as well, haven't we? Yeah. And that's the weird thing for people to get their head around, like when you say maids or nannies or helpers or cleaners. But it's just, it's a given here, isn't it?
A lot of people obviously have live-ins, the ones that live with them. We don't do that. We just have a lady who comes in the afternoon, does some cleaning before you and the girls get home, just to kind of tidy up a little bit of a hoover, bit of ironing. And then when you do get home, it gives you the opportunity to lock yourself away in the office and do some work, or she can then play with them, or you can go off to the gym. You can just have a bit of you time after school. And then she may start cooking a little bit, or you'll cook. And then I get home. By the time I get home, she's already left for the day. Gone. So she's here for a few hours a day. And it's very helpful.
It's extremely helpful.
But I think that's something that has taken a bit of getting used to. And maybe I'm still not 100% used to it, but because we haven't had it for... We haven't had it before. We wouldn't have it if we were in the UK either. So I
think it was probably one of those things. I justify it more to benefit. I think it benefits me more so. Just because when I get home, there's certain days where if I've got rugby and we need someone to babysit. It is helpful to have someone who comes in and cleans. It's one less thing to think about, and can help with the cooking. But 9 times out of 10, we'll cook.
Yeah, cooking.
And she's really good with the girls. So Livy especially, the arts and crafts.
Yeah.
And things like that. So it just helps to lighten the load. And for people listening to it, I think a lot of people do it, don't they? It's kind of just, it's a normal thing.
It does seem to be more of a norm over here.
Yeah, and again, with a lot of people, school runs will go with drivers rather than putting kids on buses.
Yeah.
Won't they as well?
Again, a benefit, something to help them, to save them, or if they start work too early, or they then get a driver to drop their kids off at school and pick them up and take them off to activities in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I still find it, strange. Like it's very strange to me, but I mean, you speak to so many people.
It does give
who
us
do
that
it.
work-life balance, doesn't it? That we're lucky now to just, I think we're kind of striking that balance.
Yeah.
But the challenge you'll find when it is like normal work days, it's fine. Weekends are okay. It's when the holidays come around. So we've got a half term coming up shortly. So we get a week off with the girls. We're lucky we've got family coming, but then we get Easter's not too long after that. And how many holidays? Do you get 30 days?
No.
How many days?
22.
So that's something to be aware
22.
of. I think there's a big, people don't think about it, do they? We didn't even think about it. But I think we've always, because you've never taught, we've always worked around that, going, right, if we're going to holidays, summer or Christmas and travels.
Yeah. We've always, we wouldn't holiday if you couldn't.
No, exactly.
Yeah. So, it's been I mean, anyone who's in a married couple who one of you is a teacher, one of you isn't, you would have already got used to the fact that your husband or wife could relax for a week or, do whatever it is for a week while you're still kind of working. So I think you already have that in your mind that that's what it is. But it's just the fact that you throw in, so in the UK, there's not really as many activities to do, or you don't have the beach on your doorstep. So when it comes around to slightly warmer temperatures and you're like, oh, today me, Ava and Liv are going to go off to one of these hotels and use the pool and beach, and then I get a little bit jealous that I'm sat at my desk at work. Yeah, that's tough. But again, it's one of those, you get your head around it, and we try and then make the most of the weekends. I think that's the way we do it.
Agreed. Like we just plan our time out, don't we? Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things, and we've done it now for so long, we don't even bat an eyelid about it in terms of the holidays. Because there's camps, a lot of the schools will run camps, because again, a lot of parents who do it are professionals, and you will see people that will travel off for a month or so in the summers and long Christmases, but actually there's also a lot of people who are still here professionally, who're still here working. Yeah. So being able to offer, and we've taken that up a few times for the kids, haven't we? They've gone into camp at school, which has been good. Just, even if it's for a morning, just gives us all a break. We kind of always say, it's still my holiday as well. Yeah.
It's like 8 till 12 or 9 till 1 or something, isn't it? So just like half a day. Yeah. Gives you some time in the morning, again, gym or just kind of pottering around a bit, just relaxing.
Yeah, watching terrible trashy TV.
But also it allows the kids to be, try a new sport or, do some kind of fun art activity there, and they come home with different things, don't they? So for them they
need time away from us as much as say we do from them. So, but I mean, as I say, we've been here now, almost 8 years. If we're thinking about personal and professional development, professional growth, do you think it's the type of place as a non-teaching couple professionally, do you think it's the type of place that you can grow and develop and be successful?
Yeah, I do.
If you want.
If you want to. Yeah, I think it's definitely made us stronger. Being away from family as well, you've really got to work together as a couple. And because of all the different things we've discussed, timing's not being the same potentially, and, having a little bit of help from help at home. And I do think you need to be strong and you need to work together. You don't have that family support. We have some really lovely friends. We don't have huge friendship groups. No. A lot of people here have like really big friendship groups. We just have a few little friendship groups because, again,
it's transient, isn't it?
Yeah, people come and go, which is sad. That's another thing to get your head around.
Yeah,
it's a very transient place.
Yeah, and especially for the kids. Like if you're coming out with kids, there are going to be times when we just had a list emailed through to us, I was saying, and Ava's got a friend's leaving party who's leaving at Easter as well, hasn't she?
Yeah.
You've had more sort of friends leave as well.
I've had a lot.
But it then gives you opportunities to be able to travel off to other countries, go and see and do and visit, which is always nice.
Yeah.
But that is one thing to wrap your head around, in that, unfortunately, sometimes you know, you can make great friendship groups, and then
Yeah, and the kids obviously making, having best friends, and then their families move back to the UK or move on to another country. And at the age they're at, they don't necessarily message. They don't have that kind of that contact. So it's tough.
that is challenging.
Tough. Yeah.
So that's one thing, obviously, going back to what we were saying about professional growth, development,
Yeah, sorry,
personal.
I jumped away from that.
This is the podcast for just basically going off. It's what we do. It's what we get. You can tell you've never listened to any of these. You'd understand what me and Drew are normally like. Just literally off on a tangent most of the time. We're lucky we get to. And that's why they're like 50 minutes long.
Oh my God.
This will be the shortest one ever because you were like straight to the point.
Straight to the point
with it. So yeah, as I say, that's probably then more personal growth, isn't it? We took on a lot of responsibility. You're not necessarily going to have grandparents around the corner or other things like that.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to friendship groups, you try and make friends with as many people as possible, but actually, yeah, but wise, as older and more experienced, you do maybe get a little bit more selective, looking for people who you know are going to be around a bit longer. And as family values, like we try and make friends more with family groups now, don't we?
Yeah.
Also because we're old.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's one of those. And professionally, like, have you developed? I mean, I think my job title has stayed the same from the UK to here, even though there's 8 years difference. Yeah. But I don't think I would necessarily want to jump to anything else. I see the responsibility that I would need to have on the next level. So I'm okay as I am. But my experience is definitely...
experience has, so professionally, as I was saying, professionally, I think with the YouTube, the podcasting, the social media, Dubai is a small place. So a lot of it is about marketing. And then from there, you do get to develop and learn, and you get swept up with everyone else who is kind of doing that. But you want to make sure you do it for the right reasons. Teaching is competitive. And there's a handful of schools, when we look at it from the kids' perspective, it's like, where would you want them to go and what would you want them to do? And that's the challenge part. Personally, I think as I've got older, I think I've got better. I think when I moved out here, and being quite honest with it, it's probably had an attitude, a bit ego, a bit arrogant, from where you worked when you moved out and all these different things. And you quickly get put in your place. And I think you have to then develop a personality and the characteristics that suit that. So for me, it's not always the place to come and develop personally. Me and Drew spoke previously about some of the things that annoy us the most about being here. And we said it was, a lot of British people who move out and get paid a lot more money than what they would have ever had at home. It's a discussion we had, and it's then how you treat people. I'd probably like to think that the one thing that stayed true about me and about us is actually how we treat people. And then that obviously feeds into what our expectations are from the girls.
Yeah.
But you do see it go the other way.
We don't earn huge amounts of money in comparison to some people. We're the paupers, some of the pauper British people. But I do think it's that we're okay. We earn enough to get by and have a nice holiday, for example. But yeah, it would be strange if our attitudes did change in that way.
I agree. So, you still do the same job you've always done. I still do the same job I've always done.
Yes.
But is it easy, do you reckon, if you wanted to change careers, if you wanted to find a new path here? Is it something easy?
I don't know. I think it all depends on what you can manage financially. Like, if, we've talked about this, haven't we? If I was to become a teacher, to try and then align, what would it take from me or from us to be able to do that? And you could start as a TA where you earn much less than I currently earn. So can we manage with that very low wage coming in from my side to get into being a teaching assistant, get into schools, get the experience, go on from there, train to become a teacher, take a couple of years. It would be a sacrifice financially, wouldn't it? But you could do it.
Yeah.
You could do it.
And we said we'd do it obviously for the holidays and longevity. Like, it's one of those you can teach primary for another 20 years or so.
Yeah. But I do think that's the only thing. There's lots of university courses, so many universities to choose from here as well, if you wanted to retrain. But it's just a case of, I don't know what it would be like with the visa situation. Obviously, you'd need to be on your other half's visa to stay in the country. But yeah, you could definitely retrain and do.
And that's actually something to be mindful of, actually not discussed, isn't it? So when you move out here, if you don't have a job, like the visas and the Emirates IDs and all those things. So what normally happens is the school will sponsor. So the school sponsored me, and then I had to go and then sort out your visas and your Emirates IDs. So, and that was a dent in the wallet. I remember that. For the three
it's
of you.
huge. Yeah. It's a lot of money just to get that done.
Yeah.
Because it's the kids as well.
Yeah. And then once you renew them, actually, it's not so bad.
Renewing is okay. But it's getting a brand new one brand new one's
costly.
Yeah,
so it's bearing in mind those types of things. And then when we were out here, they changed the attestation process. So then it had to be in Arabic as well. So luckily we found a really nice guy, and it helps taking the girls. It helped taking the girls with me.
Gets a charming little
they were younger. They were younger though, weren't they? So
charming children to help try and
slightly chubbier cheeks, blonde blue eyes, just looking up. And he did it for us then and there, which was good. But other than that, those are some of the challenges, like hidden costs of things that you weren't aware of.
Things, yeah.
But I think once you get used to that, once you settle in, you kind of just go, well.
You do get used to it, but I mean, it's still, there's a difference from the UK, isn't there, in that way? And general, everything costs more here.
Yeah, most definitely.
Apart from fuel.
And water.
But yeah,
there's a few things.
Yeah.
But saying that, things are coming up in price. I went to buy a pack of Barney Bears, and for those, they're like sponge cakes with chocolate bits in the middle for the kids. And it's one thing I've noticed, that when we first arrived, I think they were like 23 dirhams a pack, and I've spent 32 dirhams, which in the equivalent exchange rate is like £6.50 on them
for a pack of 10.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so they've gone up in cost. So things do, even though we're speaking with people about the cost of living here.
Yeah.
You know, it's carbon miles, things getting shipped in and stuff. You are starting to see it a little bit. Like even our monthly budget of food
has had to
yeah
increase to be more realistic.
Exactly.
Yeah, because we were just never meeting our budget.
No, because one of the things because we come in and doing ships in the night and at different times. Is that the first few days in the week were really good, and then it got to like Wednesday, Thursday, and it's like, coming out shopping with the kids, or I'm tired, I don't want to, and then it was like, we'll just get a takeaway, just order in, and it's so easy to do here. Like there's so many companies that just deliver food for you. Like you've got Deliveroo that does everything, and then you've got your specific restaurants where you can order from, and it would deliver for you within an hour. Yeah. You're like, it's not so bad. But if you once you start doing it 2-3 times a week, but it adds up. So the cost of living, is getting expensive here. And then ECAs, for those of you who don't know what an ECA is, it's an extracurricular activity for the kids. So and a lot of parents, as you start going through, but even if you, let's say you're on your own and you want to go and join a club or a sport, there's loads of things to choose from, isn't there?
Loads of things, yeah.
But it's the same with anything in the UK. You're going to find that you're going to pay a joining fee or, general club membership fees. And that's works out to be a couple of £100, maybe a bit more. And there's everything that goes with that. From a kid's perspective, ECAs are expensive, aren't they? Yes. We just paid for gymnastics.
Yep,
and that's actually for the term. Well, it's February through till end of school, so July. Okay. So the beginning of July. And that was 2,000 dirham for one kid. But that's every week. It's like 30 sessions. It can't be 30 sessions. Most like less. Doesn't work out so bad. But when you've got 2 kids, we were spending a lot, weren't we? Yeah. Because at one point they're both swimming or they both do gymnastics. There's all these other things. So, but it's to keep them busy, keep them occupied, keep them entertained, free up some time.
Yeah, and also see if they like a particular thing.
Yeah.
They tried kickboxing and we'd paid for that, God knows how much. And then after a couple of weeks, it was disastrous. Yeah. Music lessons.
But I just want to get them back into that.
Yeah. They both like singing and guitar and piano. So we just need to sort that.
Yeah, one of them plays netball and the other one does rugby. One of them had to do rugby. It was like a non-negotiable.
But she loves it.
She does. She started doing contact yesterday. That was an experience. She's very happy with her gum guard, isn't she?
Yes.
Gum shield. So she's been desperate to get that moulded properly.
Wait for that novelty to wear off.
Yeah. It probably will at some point. But for the moment, she seems quite happy with it. Mm-hmm. So sports, being able to involve in personal hobbies, like the gyms, the quality of the gyms here are phenomenal, I would say.
But again, expensive.
But there's lots to do, isn't there? There's lots to do. So wrapping this up, if you were to give sort of some advice to people who are either considering moving or have got, partners have been offered a job, what would your advice be for them?
I would just say soak in all that time with your family and friends before you leave. It's one of those where don't come over and think that you're going to be earning huge amounts of money. Dubai's changed quite a lot from what it was 10 plus years ago, right? So I think what people see from afar to what it is in reality here is quite different, earning wise and spending wise. It's just kind of bear that in mind. But also then just enjoy the sunshine. Yeah. Enjoy being outdoors. Go to the desert. Go to the local surrounding Emirates. Yeah. Experience that. That's
it. There's lots to see and do. We I kind of had the mindset when we first got here because the weather was always nice. Yeah. Got to be out doing something every weekend. We've got to be doing this. Got to be out. Yeah. It's like, no, don't. Yeah. Like this is going to be your home. Treat it as such. Yeah. Whereas the weekends, if you need to chill. And if you want to go out because you want to, then do it. It's I think that's the biggest misconception to me is be flexible and be adaptable. Yeah. Especially if it's like when you're a teacher, you don't see the other part that goes on for your non-teaching partner. What they could be doing if they are at home or looking for jobs or studying, whatever it may be. Don't see that because you're consumed in your own work and getting things right there and settling in. Mm-hmm. So I think that talk, communicate and make time for each other. Yeah. That's the biggest thing. And the thing we found, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Really setting aside time, even if it's just the four of us as a family to do things, or it's the two of us to do things. So you can remember, and I spoke to this with Drew about the hats you wear. So you can remember it's like, I am Alex, a husband, not just a dad or a teacher or whatever it's meant to be. So I think for me, it's be flexible, communicate so that you can, make the most of the time here. Yeah, for sure. Grand. All right. Thanks for that. See, it wasn't so bad. You're welcome. Still terrified. I think the listeners and people watching will have appreciated your input. Good. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. Well, grateful to have you. First guest. Yay. Sorry, Drew, you weren't here. And that's all for today's episode of the International Classroom. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with our special guest and learned something new about the experiences of a non-teaching partner living and working in Dubai. Thanks for listening, and we hope you tune into the next episode for more discussions on the international education community. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, stay safe and happy teaching.